Ah, man. Despite being the cheapest, brokest, poorest program to ever exist, the Florida Gators got another commit, their 10th transfer portal commit in 2 days. How do they do it? Emmanuel Oyebadejo, you are a Florida Gator.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever the podcast and on YouTube. I am Brandon Olsen, lifelong Florida Gators fan that now gets to go live for the fourth time today. Despite the Florida Gators being broke, cheap-ass bargain hunters, they land another commitment out of the transfer portal in Jacksonville State edge Emmanuel Oyebadejo. I will say this as well. I don't know if he's long-term going to play edge, but he's listed as the edge when he committed. Or let me rephrase that. I don't know if he's going to play that stand-up edge. I think he's probably better suited for more of that like Tyreek Sapp type of role. 6'7", 320 is a massive human being, right? 6'7", obviously very tall, 320 pounds, obviously freaking huge. The dude is massive. All that being said, that is still a frame that is not, I think, going to be an interior player long-term, right? Like that's the frame of someone that is probably going to be occasionally on the interior as like a light 3-tech, a light defensive tackle, but is mostly going to be playing that edge role that we saw with, again, like Tyreek Sapp. Like even at Jacksonville State, that's kind of what he played. He was more of a big defensive end that is technically listed as an edge. Some places will list him as a defensive lineman. It doesn't really matter. Again, he's going to be playing, I think, that. And also, I say Tyreek Sapp role just to make it a relatable comparison for Florida Gators fans. But really, he's like, I don't know if there's going to be as much of a pure Tyreek Sapp role this year, like that F spot. I don't know how much that's going to even exist, just because the defense is going to be probably pretty different in terms of what they do, what they label positions. So I don't know if they're necessarily going to call it the F, but he's going to be that big defensive end and not a lot of experience, right? He has just 1 year of legitimate playing time there. And he is someone who is now going to be I think, rotational player for the Florida Gators. I don't view him as an immediate starter. I view him as backing up. Like the way that I look at it is I see either LJ McCray or Cam James playing more of the, again, Tyreek Sapp role. And I view Emmanuel Oyebadejo as in that rotation as well. Personally, ideally, I still think LJ might benefit from bumping inside a little bit more, but I think Emmanuel Oyebadejo is going to fit right into that rotation. Like, he's going to play. He's going to be a contributor. He is. He's going to be, I don't think, a starter. I think even if you don't have LJ in that spot, you have Cam James ahead of him, unless Cam's bumping out, which I don't think he necessarily should do. But Emmanuel Oyebadejo comes in from Jacksonville State, which, yes, group of 5. Here's the thing. He kind of whooped ass at that level. I think that there's valid concern for some guys where you go, hey, they're coming from the group of 5. They're coming from whatever they may be coming from. But I think that that when you have a guy like this that's been productive at his level, then you have someone who can come in and contribute right away. And the expectation should be for them to come in and contribute right away. But again, probably not start. End of the year, really strong. I mean, what he did against Western Kentucky was kind of fun. What he did against frankly, he kicked the crap out of FIU. Florida International bullied him, had 5 pressures in that one game, beat the crap out of Liberty, at least block field goals. Yeah. Yeah, sure. That's what we'll say we're bringing him in for. But no, he's someone who's going to play rotational, probably multiple spots on the defensive line, really. Again, he's listed as 6'7", 320. Big dude, big frame, and can contribute in multiple spots right away, which I think that you're going to see a lot of this year. I don't think there's going to be much of, hey, this guy's going to play this one spot and stay there. I think you're going to see, hey, this guy is going to play in a bunch of different spots depending on the situation, depending on where we need him. And Emmanuel Oyebadejo fits right in there. Like that's what he's going to do. John Summerall is kicking ass right now, by the way. Just want to throw that out there. Dude, T, I seen you like twice today. This is amazing. T, this is our 4th time going live today, and we had a normal episode come out this morning. Like this is the 5th Locked On Gators today. He carries 300 easy. I mean, he better carry 300 easy. He's 6'7". He better carry 300 easy. He's a huge dude, just a massive, massive human being. And he's going to be able to help in multiple ways. I think that one thing that I like about him is that he's not one of those guys where it's just like, all right, you're a run defender or you're a pass rusher. He's shown, I don't want to say flashes because I feel like it's been more than just flashes. He's shown the ability to legitimately contribute defending the run and rushing the passer. And I think that that's a good thing to see. I will say that, they played one Power 4 football game this year. And it was honestly maybe his worst of the games that I watched, I'll say, against UCF. And that is a reason for concern. But again, we're talking about being a rotational player here. Like that's what I'm saying. Like we're talking about someone being a rotational player in this line. And I know that people are going to say, oh, rotational again. This is damn good for people that care about PFF grades, which, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, are indeed supposed to be like opponent adjusted. 81.7 grade is great. 81.7 grade, 78.9 versus the run. 58.9 tackling that's an indicator. That's probably going to be an issue. 76.4 pass rush grade and 66.6 coverage. The big issue to me is, can he bend with that height and leverage into a tackle? Yeah, that's like 6'7" is huge, but also like a lot of tackles are 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". Like you're seeing a lot of offensive tackles that are big. So it's just about getting underneath them. And I do think that he's got the ability to get underneath them, maybe not super consistently, but again, we're talking about someone who's supposed to come in, provide some juice when he's in there, and then get off the field, play a rotational role, play 20 snaps in a game, and help out. And again, similar to talking about like yesterday, we talked about Bailey Stockton, right? Wide receiver. And we talked about him as someone who some games he's probably going to play a lot when you see more 10 personnel games where it's 4 receivers and he's going to play in the slot there more. But then there's going to be some games where you're probably going to say, hey, we're going to run the football a lot. So you're not going to play that much because we're going to be in 12 personnel. We're going to be living out of that. We're going to be living heavier. I think with Emmanuel Oyebadejo, you could see games where you say, hey, we want to focus on defending the run. So you're going to play a lot at the edge spot, right? And we're going to take your size and your strength, and you're going to be a run defender on the edge there. Then boys cooking, we only have had one last year. So you're going to play there a lot on the edge against the run, right? That's where we want to help. That's where we want to have you. We're going to keep big guys, big bodies everywhere. And then there could be some games you say, hey, we're playing like Mississippi State, right? For example, and they're veer and shoot. And you could just say, hey, you're going to play on the interior here a bit just because we're going to have you focus more on trying to get into the backfield and penetrate there. And you're going to be quicker than most of our 3 techs there. And like you can kind of play around with how he fits into the defense. And so it's really fun. And again, we've seen that with a few guys now where it's like you can have multiple roles, and depending on the situation, depending on the matchup, you could play a lot or you can play not so much, right? Maybe they don't like what he does as a pass rusher from the interior, and they say, hey, you're not going to play that much. We're playing a pass happy team. It could be either way, but either way, you just added a dude that was getting recruited by other SEC schools, by Texas A&M. Like, I know that there's some guys where people say, oh, it's not about your ranking. It's about who you're landing over him, or like who you're recruiting against, right? Here, you're recruiting for an edge defensive lineman, right? Hybrid, we'll call him an edge defensive lineman, and you're recruiting against Texas A&M. You're going to tell me that's not quality right there? It's awesome. We're going to talk more about the addition of Emmanuel Oyebadejo. We're going to talk about the Florida Gators and John Summerall putting belt to ass on the recruiting trail and transfer portal. We'll talk about all that when we get back with Locked On Gators. Let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming between subscriptions you forgot about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month. It's easy to feel like you're losing control, right? And who has time to track every transaction and hunt down hidden fees? That's where Rocket Money comes in, the personal finance app that helps you take control. It helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free with the podcast and on YouTube. You want to know a fun fact? I was so focused on spelling Emmanuel Oyebadejo's name right that on the background of this show that we're live on right now, and you can see it, I forgot to put that he commits to Florida. I just put Jacksonville State edge Emmanuel Oyebadejo, and I just noticed that while doing the ad read. I happened to glance and see it. So there's that, but guess what? We're live, so we just deal with that. But the Florida Gators landed Emmanuel Oyebadejo from the transfer portal, and that helps this defensive line edge rotation a ton. Right? Everybody wanted Florida to go to the edge and add a player here. You did that. Like you've got that. If you have a Jaden Woods back, which, by the way, John Summerall is, if I'm not mistaken, at this very moment while we're talking, he is already in Kansas meeting with Jaden Woods about potentially retaining him and trying to get him out of the transfer portal. If not, then he's on his way there. But if you add Jaden Woods back, you have Cam James. Those are your starters. Emmanuel Oyebadejo rotates in. LJ McCray rotates in. KJ Ford can be a designated pass rusher, which I've said, if you get another quality defensive edge or defensive end, I'm good with saying, hey, this year, KJ Ford, we are going to ask things from you. It's going to be to be a contributor as a designated pass rusher. Like, that was the thing that we spoke about, and I said, I'm good with. I have no problem with that one. If that's what you're going to do, that's what you're going to do. But Emmanuel Oyebadejo comes in and adds a bit of juice to this team, right? He adds a little bit of a spark to this rotation now, where, again, adding a player who is a contributor in multiple ways is big for the Florida Gators to do. He is, first off, let me say this as well. I forgot to mention this, and I think this is very important when we talk about Emmanuel Oyebadejo and his recruitment and how he fits in as a Florida Gator and why we're going to be happy about him here. He's from England, and that is where I am currently living. And so we're going to be happy about Emmanuel Oyebadejo being a Florida Gator here, even on top of just being a quality football player there. And so Emmanuel Oyebadejo, good player to have here. Again, from England, went to Jacksonville State. Going to be a contributor here that will hopefully play multiple roles. Phil Lacrosse, redshirted in 2024, played significantly, started in 2026. We need an updated whiteboard. Should I get like a whiteboard, just plaster it here and just put the transfer portal? I could draw plays up for us when we're talking about players. You can do it all. But an all conference USA player, T, I'm going to be here until next September. So there's that. But he's going to come in, contribute multiple positions. And I think that really helps just talking about bringing him in, right? He was being recruited by Texas A&M. He's being recruited by Missouri. And also, we could talk about, I mentioned this to the Locked On Gators Insider program yesterday. With Emmanuel Oyebadejo, I was told outright that he was going to take all of his visits in the transfer portal. And I think the fact that, because it was supposed to be Missouri tomorrow, it was Florida this weekend, Texas A&M today, or sorry, Texas A&M, yesterday and today, and then Missouri tomorrow and Thursday. And I was told, hey, he's going to take all 3 visits. This is important that he's going to take all 3. And so the fact that he then committed to Florida without taking the Missouri visit, I feel like that's pretty indicative of, one, how Florida treated him and how Florida prioritized him, and 2, how much he wants to come to Florida. Like, that was supposed to be the thing, right? Was that, hey, he's going to take these visits, he's going to go through this. And we had, I'm assuming you're still here, Ray Graves Goat. I'm sorry, I'm going to air this out a little bit, and I don't blame you for feeling this way, but he was just like, oh, I'll believe it when I see it, right? And I think the implication that you were making was, we'll see if he gets off campus at Texas A&M. And instead, he comes to Florida there. So it's huge there. Florida adds another piece to, again, just make this roster better. To just make this roster better. That's all it is. It's just getting better. You should have, if I'm not mistaken, you're going to be able to get 2 years out of them. If not, it's just 1. But either way, like, you're talking about someone who should be able to contribute and should be able to help right away, especially on the defensive line. Like, you don't even have to start on the defensive line to be considered a big-time player, big-time contributor. You don't. You play, you make an impact. It's a rotation. It happens all the time. Multiple guys are going to play, especially in the trenches. Emmanuel Oyebadejo comes in right away and contributes there. And if he earns a starting spot, he earns a starting spot, and I'm good with it. I want to make that clear. He's someone that I think will be rotational, but if he starts, he starts, and I'm going to be happy with it. I think he's a damn good football player. And I almost cussed. But yeah, no, I think he's a damn good football player that could fit in this defense, can play. And again, like, if you're looking at guys like Gerald Chapman wanting you, I'm like that's the thing too, right? With DK Kalu from Baylor, we could talk about him and say, all right, like, not impressed with the production. I didn't think the film was great. But if Gerald Chapman wants you, then I'm good with it. With Emmanuel Oyebadejo, we can look at him and say, well, you were pretty productive. 36 total pressures, 5 sacks, according to PFF. So 36 total pressures, which, by the way, would have dusted anybody on Florida in 2025. But you had 36 pressures. You had 5 sacks. You had 27 stops, which are tackles for a gain of 3 or less. You had 27 stops there, which is usually a run defense indicator more than anything else. The glaring issue that you have, or not even glaring issue, but the biggest issue that you have is you've got a high missed tackle rate for a defensive lineman, right? That's it. You're a good run defender. You're a good pass rusher. So you've got proven production. You've got quality film. And the Florida Gators now add you to a rotation that is going to be coached by Gerald Chapman. And I think most of us would trust Gerald Chapman with just about anything, right? So adding Emmanuel Oyebadejo is huge for Florida. If you can somehow retain Jaden Woods and have Emmanuel Oyebadejo, then that's huge. Like, look, if you don't retain Jaden Woods, I think you still need to go into the portal and get just a designated pass rusher type or another rotational edge. But if you do retain Jaden Woods, before I even jump off that, if you don't and Emmanuel Oyebadejo ends up starting, honestly, I think that there's no reason to freak out about that. I think you could be comfortable with that and say, hey, like we could trust what you do. Again, if he's playing that kind of Tyreek Sapp type role. If he's playing more of a 3-tech spot, I'm good with that as well. Like, the only thing he's not going to play is the nose, right? Like, he's not going to replace Mekhi Boyrow. That's not going to be him. Because think about it, he's 30 pounds lighter than Mekhi Boyrow, but he's also like 3 or 4 inches taller. And so just that mass, way different, right? Just body mass, way different. So he could play on any spot on the defense. He'll stand up sometimes, I would imagine, just because that's something he did at Jacksonville State. I don't think he should do it as much at Florida, but it's something that he did at Jacksonville State a bit. And by a bit, I do mean very little, very, very little, but it's something that he showed. He was usually hand in the dirt, moved to the interior, moved outside. Like he can play multiple roles. That's big. Even if he plays, 35, 40 snaps in a game, because he's playing multiple spots, that's big. The Florida Gators are cooking. Emmanuel Oyebadejo, you are a Florida Gator. We're going to be happy. If the Florida Gators get another commit tonight, then we'll be going live for that. If not, we will be going live after the Florida Gators and Georgia Bulldogs play basketball later on tonight. And then we will have more transfer portal talk tomorrow morning for the Florida Gators. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI and swampsignal.substack.com, where we will be having scouting reports for all these transfer portal commits. And I'll see you all next time.